Okay, we're working on a 95 F-150 with the 4.9 straight 6. Going to be replacing the water pump. First thing you want to do is take your radiator cap off and get your radiator drained. Drain is on the driver's side on the bottom. As soon as you get the radiator drained, or while that's draining, next step is going to be to break loose this fan clutch nut. This is right in between the fan clutch and the water pump. To do this, you're going to need a bolt-on style pulley holder, along with, right here's our bolt-on style pulley holder, along with a fan clutch nut wrench. They make these that are longer handled and have a square to put a ratchet handle. I have a pneumatic one here. There's a handle attaches to an air hammer, and that's what we're going to use to break this loose. Now if you spin your fan, you'll see you have a space in between two of the blades. It's bigger than the space in between the rest of the blades. That's a good spot to come in here with your tools. So we've got the fan clutch nut wrench on here. Now we get our bolt-on holder. It just hooks right on one of the bolts. Once that's broke loose, you can loosen it up more. We don't want to take that completely off yet. You just want to get that loosened up quite a bit. Alright, so once you have that fan clutch nut wrench loosened up, you can see we got it spun just about all the way off, but not completely. Next step is going to be to undo the radiator shroud. You're going to have two bolts here, one at each end, one there, one here. This is an 8mm. So once you have those two nuts out, you're going to finish spinning off your fan clutch. Once you get to a certain point, you just turn the blades and it'll spin off. And you see it drop down. And then you're going to bring this out with the shroud. It won't fit around it. You might be able to do it if you took your thermostat housing off. It'd make it a little easier to get to the water pump and all throughout this process, but I'm not going to be touching that today. Just got done doing that recently. Don't feel like messing with it again. So you see how that come off. So now your next step is going to be break these. Let me show you a little better over here. Next step is going to be to break these nuts loose that hold the pulley on. That's why we're still leaving this belt on. This belt's keeping tension on this pulley, and it's going to help it from spinning while we're doing this. These are never usually on there that tight that you can't break them loose without holding the pulley. If you really needed to, you could stick the pulley holder on there and rotate it around as you break them loose. So I'm not going to take this pulley off. I'm going to loosen these up real good. Once these are real loose and the pulley starts flopping around on here, then I'll go ahead and remove the belt. Okay, so I got those four bolts just about ready to come out. I'm going to remove the belt now. Right here's your tensioner. You'll see a square here for your 3/8 inch ratchet, and you're just going to turn this clockwise. You're going to turn it clockwise to the right to loosen it up, and just slip the belt off. Once the belt's slipped off, we can finish removing this water pump pulley. These are 11mm bolts. So I'm going to finish taking that pulley off. Okay, once that pulley's off, we have two hoses that have to be undone. You have your lower radiator hose, which you can follow right to the water pump, and then you also have this back hose here. This back hose here runs to a tube off of the water pump. See that tube there? As you can see, as tight as this is, you're going to want to use actual hose clamp pliers for this. You're not going to be able to get pliers, regular pliers, back in there like all of us poor people are used to using. So just in case you don't know what I'm referring to, here's the pliers for hose clamps. They open up here This end here, you can see where it hooks onto the parts of the hose clamp, and then when you squeeze these handles together, they're going to lock, holding that hose clamp open while you slip it off the hose. So this is what you're going to need. Like I say, regular pliers, the old plier method isn't going to work here, it's just too tight. And I'm sure if this is stuck on there, you know all the different methods. You can stick a flathead screwdriver in there to break the seal. Be careful you don't mess it up. Watch for dry crack, when you do get off, see if it needs replaced or not. And worst case scenario, if it's really stuck on there, you can take a razor blade and just put a slice right through that and peel it off that way. And again, you'd have to replace the hose, or if you have enough slack there, you can just trim off the damaged portion. So once that's done, we're going to do the same to the lower radiator hose. And once the lower radiator hose is off, the next thing we're going to work on is the water pump bolts themselves. We're going to have 4 of them. 3 of them you can easily see there, and then 1 is underneath. For this, you're going to need a 1/2 inch deep socket and a 3-inch extension. I'll show you why here in a second. So here's why we're going to need an extension at all. We need to get out past the pulley mount here. So you can see where the socket ends. If I didn't, the ratchet would be up against this, and a shallow socket is too tight in there. And if my water pump looks new, it's because I just did this the other day, but apparently the gasket wasn't good, so I got to redo it. I'm going to get rid of that paper gasket and caulk it this time. Sometimes in these older vehicles, the metal's a little pitted. A paper gasket's not going to give you a good seal. The gasket that comes with it, so I'm taking it back apart and putting a caulk gasket on. But as you can see, this isn't a hard process. So again, 1/2 inch deep socket with a 3-inch extension. I'm going to break all those bolts loose, and if this is stuck on there, if you just give it a tap right here with a sledge or a hammer, that'll pop it loose. Okay, so we got our lower radiator hose off, we got the upper hose off. I got all these 4 bolts on the water pump itself done. 3 of them are out, taking out the 4th one now. And then you're just going to slide this down and out. You'll see where this tube comes off the side. Pretty self-explanatory once you actually get your hands on it and look at it. Just going to work it right down out of there. That's this. This comes out no problem. I mean, if you want to take your thermostat housing off to make it easier, where removing the thermostat housing really helps is when you go to clean up that gasket surface. But like I say, with the way the thermostat goes in through the side, that thermostat shifts on you, so it's a pain in the butt to get it lined up in its groove. Caulk is best there to hold it in place so that when you put your thermostat housing on, it doesn't move on you, because if it moves, then you end up with a leak. So, like I said, I just did that a few weeks ago. I don't feel like messing with it again. And that's it. Putting it back together is a reverse, obviously. Not to sound like a Haynes manual, but clean up your gasket surface real good. We'll scrape all that up. I suggest a caulk gasket. Put this back in there, bolt it in. You can reattach your hoses, put your pulley back on. Then you put there's only, like I said, there's only 2 bolts on this fan shroud. The bottom of it hooks in. And you put that in at the same time with the fan clutch. And that's pretty much it. Pretty simple process, so hopefully it helped you out.